Hi all, this is Mihir here. I don't know if you have heard about in the recent days there has been a lot of news coverage about declining water levels in Lake Mead. So today I'm gonna talk about uh, some historic stuff about why water is important, and then I'm gonna touch about different types of economic activities as well as different types of water usage that we might not be that well aware about. I'm also going to talk a bit about how waterways are important um for transportation, and also going to talk about obvious things like how water is important for growing food, for use in industries, etc. Then I'm gonna touch a bit about why we have water management conflicts and how these conflicts are gonna intensify, or how these conflicts are gonna change due to the changing climate. And at the end, I'm gonna talk a bit about Colorado River system. Uh, so, as you might know, Lake Mead is formed the name of the reservoir that is formed on the Colorado River due to the Hoover Dam, which is adjacent to the city of Las Vegas. So on the screen, you can see water levels in a portion of the Lake Mead. This portion is called the Overton Arm. On the left hand side, you see the water levels that were photographed from satellites that NASA uh, monitors. So on the leftmost side, you have the water levels in the Overton arm of the Lake Mead in early 2000s. Then in the middle, you have water levels that were present previous year, and on the rightmost side, you see the water levels that are present in today's time, that is 2022. And on the rightmost side, you see me in the inset. Say hi if you see me. So let's get started. Uh, I'm sure all of you might be aware about how important a role water has played in human life as well as in the lives of animals and other creatures, and also a role in the evolution of a human in the evolution of living things. So on the bottommost part of the slide, you can see uh, some sort of a cartograph which depicts how humans migrated out of Africa. So, as humans moved out of Africa, we moved in through the Arabian Peninsula, and then we followed roughly a coastal route. So, humans followed a coastal route because coastlines are very important. They have all like rivers and those things that flow from the inland into the coast, so that it meets again into water body like the oceans. So these rivers are very important as a source of water, and as we developed agriculture, we found an increasing need for water so that we can water our crops and do other things with water. And also these coastal areas as well as these river deltas are very important source of um, a very important source of food, that is fish and other aquatic creatures that we regularly eat. So basically, humans moved, as we moved out of Africa, we moved along the coast, and we basically never left the coastlines. So ancient civilizations like the Nile River civilization cropped up in the northern part of Africa. So Nile is basically like a huge oasis in between the northern African desert, the Sahara Desert, and as we all know, that the Egyptian civilization cropped up along the Nile River and its delta. Similarly, we had the Fertile Crescent uh, coming up along the Tigris and the Euphrates rivers. And to the east, we had the Indus Valley civilization coming up along the Indus River as well as the along the Gangetic Plains. And further to the east, we had the ancient Sang civilization cropping up along the Yellow River and its delta. Similarly, closer to the US, we had ancient New World civilizations like the Aztecs, the Mesas, and the Incas. So, as you can see, river and river tributaries and river deltas have played a major role in ancient civilizations. A point to note here is that the Indus Valley civilization declined due to changing course of its rivers. So it's a form of a climate change, or if you're being more specific, it's the because of tectonic activity and earthquakes, the course of the river changed, and once the river changed its course, all the civilization, all the buildings, and all the people had also had to move to had to move to where the river moved, uh, so that they have water for their farms and animals, etc. uh, Here I'm going to talk about, like, in the present day. Even in the present day, we have like major cities, that major population centers and economic centers that are focused along rivers and river deltas. So on the right hand side, we have New York City, that's in the Hudson River Bay, that's basically along the Hudson River. And we also have London along Thames, and also uh, Paris is situated along the Seine River. If you're careful in the photograph, on the left hand side of the bottommost photograph, you can see the famous Eiffel Tower in the background. There are also other cities like Tokyo and Mumbai further east, which are located on the confluence of rivers. So Tokyo is basically located on confluence of four rivers: the Arakawa River, Sumidagawa River, Edogawa, and Tamagawa. Similarly, my hometown of Mumbai is also located on a confluence of four rivers: the Mithi River, the Oshiwara River, and the Daisar and the Poisar rivers. If we look at rivers that are not as such located, as such, that empty into the coast, there are also cities like Chicago, which is located along the Chicago River, which uh, earlier it used to flow out of the Lake Michigan, but due to changes uh, in the underlying geology, we have engineered such that the river now has changed its course than what it was in the ancient times. So, as you might be aware that most of these major cities like London and Chicago had like uh, had like an issue where in the early 1800s or early uh, you know um, late 1700s and the early 1800s, as well as late 1800s, all the industrial waste from the industrial revolution, all the factories, all the waste from tanneries and other industries used to be dumped into the river. So the river was basically uh, made into a sewage line that flushed out the sewage from the city. It used to be said that the Thames used to stink so badly that it was nigh on impossible to walk along its banks. But humans learned the error in our ways, and cities like Chicago and also London and other cities around the world have have spent multi-billion dollars in cleaning up their rivers. And one of the benefits that they get after restoring their rivers is that rivers uh, enhance the urban lifestyle. People like to go for walks along the rivers. Also, they like to boat around and sail around in the rivers. So it adds a lot of economic and a lot of a beautification aspect to the city. Here I'm going to talk a bit about how rivers and waterways have played a major economic role, especially in the US and in Europe. Navigable rivers were kind of like the arteries of economic activity where they transferred goods from the fertile inland plains, like in the US we have the fertile the prairies of Iowa and all the other Midwestern states, which produce grain and other agricultural outputs, which used to be transferred to the other to the other population centers through rivers. So grains, timber, agricultural and industrial produce has been transported along rivers and river barges for a long time in the U.S. Also, American settlers used these navigable rivers to so-called tame the Wild West. Uh, inter- uh, Interestingly, there's a federal proposal which looks into using these inland waterways and also developing new waterways as an alternative to crowded land transportation routes like I-5 on the west coast. So on the topmost figure on the left hand side, you can see the inland waterways of United States along with different port cities which it serves. Uh, and similarly on the left hand, similarly below that figure, you see uh, a figure that depicts the inland waterways in continental Europe. The figure on the left hand side details the rivers that are used to transfer goods and also like people within Europe. And on the right hand side, you see uh, that the river along the populated border region between France, Germany, Belgium, and Denmark is heavily used. It has a very high volume of trade. So basically, all these industrial heartland of like Germany and France and Belgium and Netherlands, basically they produce the goods and those goods are transferred out to the port and then they are sold all over the world. So rivers play a major role in transporting stuff inland, uh, and as well as transporting finished goods out to the sea so that you can trade. Uh, there's also a note of caution, like native people of US and North America have been making sustainable use of rivers for millennia before settlers so-called tamed the Wild West. Next, I'm gonna touch about present day goods that we use and how its usage is associated with consumption of water. uh, like everyone wakes up in the morning and has a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, so it might be surprising to know that a single cup of coffee that we drink in the morning, it's the associated water consumption with it is about 140 liters. uh, so basically this water consumption is because of growing the coffee bean, processing the coffee bean, as well as the water that goes into making the cup of coffee. Similarly, a single banana, uh, we eat bananas every time, and a single banana is associated with about 160 liters of water. uh, as some of you might be using a lot of paper to do your math homework and write other stuffs and paint beautiful pictures, it's to be it is to be noted that 1 kg of paper that we use, its associated water consumption is about 3,000 liters. There are also other agricultural products that are kind of like in vogue these days, like avocados. It is to be noted that avocados have especially higher consumption of water associated with its usage. A surprising thing you can see in the plot here is that on the rightmost side, you see that to produce 1 kg of beef, we require about 15,000 liters of water. Just imagine about it. So similarly, every product that we consume or buy has an associated water usage. So here I'm going to talk about like factors which affect the demand for water. So it's pretty obvious, like factors like population and also consumption levels. Like if you buy more stuff, if you buy more clothes, you're going to consume more water. Similarly, increasing population also requires increasing amounts of food crops and also other food items which have an associated water usage. So basically, in sociology, there's this concept called treadmill of production and treadmill of consumption. Like we always talk about economic growth, the GDP growth is slowing down, the GDP growth is increasing. So basically, that is how much people are buying and how much people are spending within an economy. So if we are producing more goods, people are going to buy more goods. Or conversely, if people want to buy more goods, the industries will produce more goods. And these increased treadmill of production and treadmill of consumption uh, leads to economic growth. But we have to keep in mind that this also leads to increased water usage. Like not all crops are created equal. Certain crops like almonds, pistachios, pasture crops, rice, etc., are very water intensive. So it might be wise to uh, grow these crops only in places where we have plentiful water so that we do not uh, have like a strained water usage. Next, I'm going to talk about water management conflicts. Uh, like we know, like rivers flow because of the geography of the land, the topology of the land, and a river might be flowing through multiple states, might be flowing through multiple countries. So therefore, resolving conflict for water basins, it's very crucial that we use diplomacy and we have certain uh, legal framework um, for sharing water. Recently, the drought in the western U.S. has played a major role in bringing to the fore uh, the intricacies associated with water sharing agreements, especially the Colorado River Compact. So, on the right hand side, we can see two figures, two pictures which show the Colorado River system. So, the Colorado River system, for for ease of management, is divided into two parts: the upper basin and the lower basin, as we can see in the figure. So, near the city of Las Vegas, we have the Hoover Dam, which basically serves the lower basin states. And the reservoir associated with the Hoover Dam is the famous Lake Mead. Similarly, the upper basin states are served by Glen Canyon Dam, which leads to the formation of Lake Powell as the reservoir, as the major reservoir for the upper basin states. Similarly, to the left, you can see a map of the upper basin states and lower basin states of the Colorado River system. But here we have some topographic information uh, superimposed. Uh, Here I will talk a little bit about the Colorado River system. So, like I said previously, Colorado River Basin is divided into upper basin and lower basin. The upper basin serves the states of New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, and Wyoming, while the lower basin serves the economic powerhouse of California and also Nevada and Arizona. The 1922 Colorado River Compact was an agreement between the upper basin states and the lower basin states to allow passage of about 9,000 million cubic meters of water from the upper basin to the lower basin each year. So, like I said, Lake Powell, that is formed by uh, the Glen Canyon Dam, serves the upper basin states, while Lake Mead, which is formed by the Hoover Dam near the city of Las Vegas, serves the lower basin states. Both of these reservoirs, Lake Mead as well as Lake Powell, have been drying up due to prolonged drought. The water levels have fallen so badly that it is jeopardizing the hydroelectric production. It is to be noted that, as I said earlier, California is an economic powerhouse of the US. Agricultural receipts, that is, um, California's contribution to the agricultural GDP of the US is the highest. Thus, managing water resources for California is very important for food security of the United States. So, the need of the hour is to renegotiate the Colorado River Compact and redefine water usage such that the present water levels can reliably serve the people living in these states. It is to be noted that sociologists have noted that Western United States has experienced a higher level of population growth as compared to Middle America. So basically, what has happened is that people have moved from the states which have like heavy snow in the Midwest to the sunny states in the Western U.S. over the past few years. So this uneven distribution of population, that is the shift of population from Middle America to Western US, has caused an increased demand for water resources in the western part of the country. So future water sharing agreements must pay heed to matters like sustainable agriculture, fisheries, industrial and recreational usage due to the population shifts. It's very important to have certain conservation goals as a prerequisite for water sharing. So these conservation goals could look like, cutting back on water-intensive crops like almonds and pistachios, and limiting activities which are very water-intensive like golf clubs, paints and coatings industries. And there's also a need to increase awareness among general population so that people conserve more water. A point to note here is that long back, millennia ago, Native American tribes had the rights to these waters, and their rights and needs have to be respected while renegotiating these interstate compacts. Thanks a lot for listening to the video, and um, a video about drying up of Lake Mead is going to come up soon. You can see in this slide that on the left hand side we have the water level in Lake Mead around August 2000, and on the right hand side we have water level in Lake Mead in August 2021. Again, this image is from NASA. I would like to thank all the researchers whose papers I've cited here and whose papers have helped me to understand these intricate uh, issues related to the managing the Colorado River system and its associated water resources. I would also like to thank my sociology professor Lori Kramer from Oregon State University for introducing me to these interesting sociological tools to look at water management problems. Thank you.
Longer.
Seen approximately a 20-foot drop in lake levels just this year.
A year ago, you could launch boats from here. You could even swim nearby if you wanted to. Today, the harbor is closed. The place looks dry and desolate. This section of Boulder Harbor is cut off from the lake because of low water levels. According to Kelsey Larson from the Park Service, more dredging is not an option.
Because it's not a natural lake bed, the topography of the area makes it really hard for us to chase the lake down with continued construction.
Meaning, don't hold your breath waiting for this harbor to open anytime soon. Lake level projections are bad. By the end of the year, the water level is expected to drop to an elevation of about 1,065 feet, down from 1,085 feet from January 1st.
But it is a significant drop. The Bureau of Reclamation projections also predict about a 15-foot drop in the next year as well.
If that happens, a lake level by the end of 2022 will be just 1,050 feet. But even before the end of 2022, boaters are likely to lose another popular launch location. Colville Bay, in its present configuration, will be unusable if the lake level drops just 3 more feet. The Bureau of Reclamation expects that to happen within 6 months. Larson says the Park Service is doing what it can to try to minimize the worsening water levels and boat launch issues.
We are continuing to work on ramp and pipe mat maintenance and repairs at different locations this winter.
So as of now, Boulder Harbor is closed, Temple Bar is closed, and South Cove's concrete ramp is closed. Hemingway Harbor is open, but on just one lane. Larson says that even with lower lake levels and fewer boat launches, she's confident patient boaters will be able to enjoy the lake next year.
It might not be at those same launch locations that folks are used to, but the park is planning ahead. We are working on analysis, assessments, so that we can develop plans.
Les Crittenden, Fox 5 News, local Las Vegas.